Even in the age of AI, chatbots, and whatever the latest shiny marketing tool is, Google Ads still reigns supreme when it comes to getting new patients in your clinic. And why is that? Because no matter how tech evolves, people still and always will use Google when they need to find a local service provider. People still really aren't asking ChatGPT for a physical therapist in your area. They might use ChatGPT for something like trying to actually solve their shoulder pain. But when they actually go to find who's local and who's the best local, they Google it. And here's a fun fact. Google Ads make up about 80% of Google's total revenue. That means they're going to keep pushing this platform hard no matter how much of page one actually changes. And that's a massive advantage for you if you know how to use it. Search-based ads, especially for local service businesses like physical therapy, are still the best bang for your buck. And to be honest with you, I think they're always going to be the best way to get new patients in the door. At my old clinic, Ripple, Google Ads brought in about 75% of the evaluations that we had across our 7 physical therapists that were there when I left, when I sold the clinic back at the end of 2024. So we were really pushing Google Ads. And listen, it wasn't always pretty. At the beginning, I wasted a ton of money. It was slow to get ramped up. I had to get over my own self in order to get the campaign to the amount of spend that it needed to be. I set up campaigns wrong. I failed a ton, but eventually I figured it out, and Google Ads became the engine that scaled our clinic, filled our schedules, and it gave me the freedom to automate the business and allowed me to move out of Boston to Portland, Maine, allowed me to put a clinic director in place, allow her just to run the clinic and run the day-to-day operations. And that was the biggest reason why I was able to automate my clinic, remove myself, and then eventually sell the business. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, or if you're struggling to get patients or you want patients in a more predictable fashion, then today's podcast episode is going to be for you. Because fast forward to today, inside of Patch, we help over 250 clinics run their Google Ads, and we're seeing incredible results across the board. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to set up a Google Ads account. I'm going to do step by step. I'm going to set up my own ads account. So if you're listening to this on the pod, head on over to the YouTube channel, where that way you can actually see my screen share. And I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to set up this Google Ads account. So the first thing what you're going to want to do is you're going to go to Google, and you're going to want to just type in Google Ads. Basically what this is going to do for you is going to take you to an ads.google.com link. You're going to want to click that, and you're going to be here where it says, stand out with Google Ads, set up your Google Ads account. We're going to hit start now. I'm going to say I want to set up a new Google Ads account. I'm going to create that new account, and it's going to get me right to here. So the thing to remember when you're setting up your Google Ads account is there's a lot of AI features here, and we're going to walk through where some of these AI accounts start showing up, or where some of these AI settings start to show up. You can get lost really quickly by just letting Google set up your account for you. I actually highly suggest against that. And I'll show you some really specific examples as to why. But if you are starting on a smaller budget, say you're starting at $500 a month, you're going to want to control where all of that spend goes. And if you just let Google's AI spend your money for you, it's going to spend money on things, people looking for, like a sports, like a psychologist, or people just looking for exercises, or being really broad with some of those searches. You want to be as dialed in and as specific as possible when you're setting up your Google Ads account. So, okay, create your first campaign in a few simple steps. We're going to add our business information, we're going to create our ad, and we're going to set our budget. So let's click this create your first campaign button. I'm going to set this up for, let's set it up for my old clinic, Ripple Physical Therapy. Let's say they're opening a location up in Portland, Maine. And then when we put the website in, I'm just going to put their normal website in, ripplebasecamp.com. And now we can see, so basically what this is asking us is, what should people do after clicking your ad? Go to your website, go to your Google business profile, call my phone number, or go to my app download page. you're going to want this to go to your website here to begin with, okay? The other option that you could do is you could go to your business profile page. You're going to want to make sure that you're managing that page as well. And if you're sending ads to your Google Business Profile, there's two ways that people are going to reach out. They're either going to message you on your Google Business Profile, which, let's be honest, not a lot of people are actually doing that right now. When's the last time you messaged a business on their Google Business Profile? It's pretty rare, right? And the other thing that they're going to do is they can call directly from your Google Business Profile. So there's no real way for you to gather their information, phone number, email, first name, last name. So this is why I suggest setting this up to go to somebody's, go to your own website here. So we'll click that and we're going to hit next. All right, so what this did, and this is where some of the AI things come into play. It says, describe your business to get better campaign suggestions. So we can say we're a physical therapy clinic. I won't do Portland because the Ripple's website, they actually are in Boston, so the AI is going to get a little bit messed up here. So we'll do it. Physical therapy clinic in Boston, Massachusetts. What specific product or services are you advertising in this campaign? So again, all this stuff is pulling from the website here, and you can see it's like suggesting hospitals and health clinics. We obviously want to get rid of that. Musculoskeletal clinics, we want to get rid of that. Headache and pain management, again, the now owner of Ripple does a lot of concussion and vestibular type stuff. So that's probably the AI model is probably pulling from some of the vestibular information that's on the website. But we want this campaign as dialed in as possible for physical therapy. So we're just going to click that. And then select web pages to get relevant image suggestions. So it pulls from our YouTube channel, it pulls from the website, which is great. So we'll keep both of those. And we will hit next. So in here, I'm not going to do any of this stuff, obviously, but you can link your YouTube channel, you can link your Google Business Profile, and you can edit the phone number. Why it would link your YouTube channel is for a campaign type called Performance Max. We're not going to set up a Performance Max campaign on this. I actually suggest against running any sort of Performance Max campaign unless you're spending multiple $1,000s a month. And what a Performance Max campaign does is it takes your ad and it allows Google's AI to put your ad all over Google owned things. Okay, so Google owns YouTube, so it'll put your ad on the YouTube channel, it'll put it in some of the display network, it will put it on search. So that's where linking some of these accounts will start to come into play. So we'll leave all that off for now and we will hit next here. All right, so the next thing it's asking us to do is choose our advertising objective. So if we're thinking about this, right, there's a couple different options here. It says, our objective could be to drive online sales. It could be to get leads, website traffic, app promotion, or awareness and consideration. Obviously, if we're running ads, what we want here is leads, okay? More website traffic is great, but what that's going to do is it's going to optimize for just like broad website traffic. And really all it cares about is more website traffic. But if we set it to leads, we can set conversions inside of our ad account that will tell Google when a lead actually comes through. So if a form gets filled out, if a discovery call gets booked, if somebody calls us, we can set up all those things. So we can actually set up micro conversions as well for Google to start to understand when people actually do purchase buying behavior. So if they go to a certain page or if they click a certain button, so we can track all of that stuff as well and then feed that back into Google so that Google has as much information as it needs in order to optimize our ads. So we're going to set our campaign objective to leads. All right, choose your leads goal for this campaign. So there's a number of different options here. These are just like the standard ones that Google has. So we have phone call leads, we have page views, we have submit a lead form, we have contacts. and we have outbound clicks here. Okay, and we can also open this up and we can start to see more. We have, book appointments, we have signups, we have request quotes, and we have get directions here. So there's a couple different things that we can set up here, and this is where Google Ads starts to get a little bit tricky because I can only click one of these here, and to be honest with you, we're going to want to track a couple of these things, right? So we're going to watch this book appointments and enter the URL someone reaches after they request an appointment. So this is where, like, if somebody books a call, where do they go after they book that call? We can also optimize for phone calls. So if anytime somebody calls our phone number, we can look at like a specific page. Setting up lead forms. This is a potential customer fills out a form, and we can tell Google which forms that we want for it to fill out here. So I'm going to have our campaign objective to be submit a lead form. All right. And then what we can do and what you can do in there, and I'm not going to be able to go over this in this video, is you can set exactly what form on your website, and you can tell it what forms are where and what page they're on and what triggers actually start to happen on there, so that it can track when a form is actually filled out. So because there's going to be a couple different ones that we're going to want, so the way we set these up is we have our goals for the campaign to be page views, we have submit lead form, we have outbound clicks, we have book appointments, and then we also have like a get directions as well because we run ads through the Google Business Profile. So for now, I'm just going to have this submit lead form. It's just going to be on our URL, and we should be good to go there. So we'll just say contact us. So apply that, and we will hit next. All right, now it's going to send us over to define who should see the ads here, okay? So it even says here, your ad will be optimized by Google's AI, get more leads across search, YouTube display, and more, or view other campaign types. And this is something that we're gonna talk about once we get into the bidding strategy here. We really don't want our ads to be displayed across all of these different platforms. We really just want search here, okay? So what we need to give to Google is what our search themes are. So what are some words or phrases people use when searching for your products or services? So let's say physical therapy. We can say physical therapy clinic. We can say performance physical therapy. Let me make sure I spell performance correctly. And we can say sports physical therapy. All right, so we've got this. These are going to be our search themes here. We can see in our more settings, we have our location as Massachusetts. We can drill down even a little bit more with all of these things. So we don't want this to be all of Massachusetts, obviously. We want this to be Boston, Massachusetts. So we'll include this. You can even see when you're doing this, you could exclude certain places. So if I don't want to show up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, because Cambridge is across the river on the other side, that might as well be New Hampshire. So I'm going to exclude that. So the more exclusionary things that you can have on there, the better your campaign is going to perform. Languages, we have English, so that's already preset there. So we should be good to go with all of those things, and we will hit done here. Okay, so we've added our search themes, we've added our location, we will hit next. Now we can start to see like what our ad is actually starting to look like here. Okay, so if I scroll all the way up to the top, we can start to figure out our first campaign here. And what we can do is, the first thing we have to do is we have to add our headlines here. And if you hit the Google Gemini, it's going to view some of the suggestions for you. And you can see we don't have any suggestions available right now. So we can also add in text assets. So we can enter or paste text assets, one asset per time here. So usually what I like to do is you just start to fill out some of this headline here because it's not really giving us too much information. And to be honest with you, that's good. So, our headline can be best physical therapy clinic, book a phone call today, sports physical therapy Boston MA PT. And you can start to fill these things out based on what you want your ad to actually say. And you can start to see this ad starts to pre-populate, and you can start to see, what actually starts to show up here. Now, the next thing that we have are longer headlines. Longer headlines, again, let's see if it gives us any sort of suggestions here. It doesn't give us any suggestions. So the longer headline can be, the original headline can only be 30 characters. A longer headline can be 90 characters. So a longer headline can have a little bit more like descriptive copy to it. So our longer headline can be been in pain and can't find a solution. Start PT today. Experience physical therapy like never before. We can say Boston's most trusted physical therapy clinic, and you can start to add in some of these bigger, longer headlines. And what I always suggest, you can see you have 15 different options here for headlines. You're going to want to make sure you have all 15 of those written out. Same thing for the long headlines. There's 5 different ones that you can have here. You're going to want to make sure all 5 of those are filled out, because what Google starts to do is it'll test these different headlines and these different longer headlines, and it'll start to show the best ones that come through. Okay, so if Boston MAPT for whatever reason gets more people to click and more people to convert, it'll start suggesting that more and more. This is called a dynamic search ad, and it's going to optimize for the best performing assets that you have. So the more information and the more testing that you can give it, the better off you're going to be. So again, we'll leave these. We'll add one more here for the headline just to get 5. We'll say speak with a doctor of PT today. No, I went over my characters here. So speak with a doctor today. All right, cool. So we've got our headline, we've got our long headline. Now what we can have is descriptions here. Okay, so descriptions are going to be a lot like the longer headlines. You've got 90 characters here, and it's going to be the same sort of thing. And you can see within the search, these descriptions are going to show up just below the headline. So this is super important stuff to have here as well. So you can say like in back pain and don't know what to do, talk with a physical therapist today and get results. I went over and get started. Nope, still over. We'll say talk with a PT today and get started. In Boston and don't know where to get out of pain, where the local option for PT, looking for Boston's best PT clinic, look no further, get started today. All right, so we've got 3 of our descriptions filled out here. Again, you're going to want to make sure that you're filling out all 5. Let's see if it gives us any suggestions. Still not giving us any suggestions, which is fine. And this is where, again, like some of the AI stuff will work for you sometimes. It won't work for you sometimes. That's why you can't rely on it. So you've got to make sure that you're filling these out on your own. Images here, the cool part is that it pulls directly from our website, which is awesome. So we can select some of these different images. I'm going to select some of the nicer, more professional photos that they have on here. You can see it generates some like AI ones for us. We want to avoid those as much as possible. And you're going to, again, you have the option to add 20 different images. You're going to want to try to add all 20 of those. On the logos, so it didn't find any logo. I don't have Ripple's logo handy here, so I'm not going to add this because I just don't have it. But again, you're going to want to pull in your logo, make sure you're adding it there. You're going to want to, for all of these different assets that you can fill out, you're going to want to try to make sure you fill out as much of them as possible. Our business name, we've got Ripple Physical Therapy. Our videos, again, it's telling us here if you don't have a video, Google will automatically create one in most cases. This is again where like you don't want Google to do this because it's going to create some AI generated thing and it's going to show poorly on your business. So this is where having a YouTube channel, having videos handy, all this stuff is going to be super important. You're going to want to make sure you're adding that there. On the site links side of things, what site links are, if you go to the search ad, you can start to see these little buttons down here. Again, Google's already AI generating this for us. So you can see if I click this book a phone call, it takes us to the contact page, which is great. It goes to our blog center. It takes us to the blog about us, hybrid personal training. So what we're really trying to do on the search ad is we're trying to make this search ad as big as possible. So the more of these site links that you have, the more you can, the more real estate you're going to take up in your actual search ad here. So you're going to want to try to fill out as much of these as possible, and you're going to want to link them to different pages. This is again where conversion tracking starts to become super important, because if somebody clicks on the hybrid personal training page here and you're not tracking some of these button clicks or the people that go from here to your contact page, you're going to start to miss out on some of those conversion metrics. So that's where getting a little bit more in depth on your conversions, because you remember at the beginning of this we just set our conversion metrics to submitting a lead form. But if somebody goes to the hybrid personal training page, there's no form on that page to fill out. So if you're not tracking the funnel and the route of where they're going, you're going to start to miss out on things there. So you're going to want to make sure all those are filled out and your conversion actions are set up correctly. We have our call to action. It's immediately telling us to do it on an automated basis. So and this is recommended. Again, you can say learn more, get a quote, apply now, sign up, contact us, subscribe, download, book now. You can let the automated setup do this and just test all these different ones for us. I don't love that, because like if it tests a call to action that says download, people are obviously not downloading anything, right? Or there's like a learn more action here. That's just like a super soft call to action, and we actually want to avoid people that are just trying to learn more and they're really just looking for more information. So that's not a call to action that I love. So I like the ones that say book now, sign up today. Those are going to be more harder call to actions. But if you want to test it and you want Google to just recommend whatever it thinks is going to work the best, you can set this to the more automated type. As you continue scrolling down, you can see we have more asset types here. So we have promotions, we have prices, we have calls, we've got structured snippets. So if you want to run a promotion, you can add that directly in there. If you want to include your prices, you can add that directly in there as well. You're going to want to make sure your calls is definitely filled out. You're going to want to make sure your phone number is obviously correct too, and you're tracking that. And then we have our structured snippets down here. So what structured snippets are, again, is just going to show up in the search ad, and it's just going to give us a little bit more oomph to our search ad, and we can start to add in different things here. And this is going to show us where these structured snippets show up. So talk with a doc today, and we only have 25 characters here, so these got to be a little bit shorter, and you can see again where these are starting to show up. So it's going to be your URL is going to show up in the ad, you have your headlines, you're going to have the description, and then you're going to have these structured snippets down here. Expert physical therapy, Boston's trusted PTs. So we can create that, and then we're going to add the header here. And now, again, this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. So it's like, what is our header going to be? Amenities, brands, courses, degree programs, destinations, featured hotel, insurance coverage, models, neighborhood service catalogs, shows, styles, types. So we're going to just have this as a neighborhoods here. And then you can start to figure out like what you're actually going to want to add in here. So we can do types, and then the types is going to be talk with a doc, expert PT. Again, if you're doing neighborhoods, you can add in Back Bay, Boston. You can add in certain like places where you are actually trying to show up. So you'll have to figure out what exactly you're going to want to add here for your structured snippet. We'll save that. All right. And then if we open up to more options, we can update the display path. This is just what shows up on the ad itself. This is not the actual URL that it gets sent to. So if we want to say, ripplebasecamp.com/physical therapy/ book today. And then we can always use a different URL for mobile. So again, this is stuff that you guys can start to figure out if you want to do a different, if you have like a more mobile optimized landing page, which is a really important thing to remember with this. If you're just sending these to the home page of your website, you can't expect these campaigns to work super well. We know that if we send these to a specific landing page that's set up for Google Ads and is set up to convert, that we're going to get better results here. Because what ends up happening is somebody goes to your homepage, they're going to see everything that you offer. They're going to see your blog, they're going to see your About Us, they're going to see your just different services. And the more people click around, the more people get distracted for what they're actually on your website for, which is to book a physical therapy or take that next step to get physical therapy. The more that they're going to forget that they're there, what they're there for. And then the odds of them Xing out are going to become much higher. So we really want to make sure that we're sending them to a specific landing page. Ideally, that landing page doesn't let them go anywhere else other than just booking that call or filling out that form. So definitely something to remember there. The last two things here, we have our asset optimization. So we can go in and we can update some of these things here. So if we had the text, we can customize the final URL. We can, update all of these things if you want to go in. And again, I highly suggest you guys reading through these so we can have customization. We can use text from your site landing page and provide assets to create customized ad copy. So again, this is letting the AI do things for you. I suggest turning that off because we want to have as much control over this as possible. And you can even see like Google's recommending certain things for you to turn on the final URL expansion. It's telling you that it's going to increase conversions by 10%. Sometimes it's not always a good thing because what Google's looking at here is it's going to measure in clicks and total traffic. And oftentimes that's not a good thing because just because somebody's clicking and going to your website doesn't mean that they're actually looking for what you're trying to serve them, which is physical therapy. So we will actually want to narrow this down, especially on a smaller budget. As you get into bigger ads budgets, you're spending a couple $1,000s a month. This is where you can let the AI start to do some things for you. But I highly suggest having as much control as possible on a smaller ads budget. So if you're spending anything below $750 a month, then you want to have as much control with this as possible. And that's where the setup for all of this stuff becomes much more important, because if you're spending a small amount of money and you're letting AI do everything for you, it's going to spend your money haphazardly and you're not going to get the best results that you actually can. So we're going to turn those off for now. We have our image enhancement. I actually like this. We want to enhance the images and adjust the images for better appearance. If you have just like iPhone images, it's going to update these things for you, which is good. And then we have landing page images. Get images from your landing page to use in your ad. I think that's totally fine. The more image assets that it can pull from our website, I think the better off we are. You can do the same thing for video. It's going to just like enhance like the size of that video and it's going to crop it correctly. So I actually like turning those things on. These campaign URL options, these are if you're using a specific URL tracker. Again, this is kind of getting in the weeds here. These are things that you should be doing. But for your initial Google Ads setup, I wouldn't worry about it. So we'll add that as done. And then we've got our campaign URL option. Okay, so we've already gone through that, so we're good. So all right, our campaign optimization score is at 90%. We're looking pretty good. We will hit next here. All right, so now we get into our bid strategy, okay? So this is where things start to get a little bit more tricky. So if you open this up, you can see what we're trying to do is we're trying to set our bid strategy, and it's asking us what we want to focus on. Do we want to focus on conversions, or do we want to focus on conversion value? So the difference between these two, conversions is going to be just tracking the number of actual conversions that you have. So if somebody calls you, that's a conversion, that's what we're tracking. Conversion value is where you assign a dollar amount to those actual conversions. So if a phone call is worth $50 for you, or if a discovery call is worth $200 for you, you can start to get really specific with these things. You can set values with all of this stuff. I recommend against that because we're not an e-com store, and we know that like if somebody purchases that, we're invoicing that $100 for every purchase that we have. So it's really tricky to add those conversion values unless you have a ton of data, unless you're really tracking the back end, you're using a CRM to understand what your actual conversion value is. So for the purpose of what we're doing here, we can set conversions. We can also set a target cost per action. This is where like, what are you willing to pay to get one of these conversions? All right. So if you said like, all right, for every conversion that we get, I'll spend, I want to spend $200 with that. Or, I only want to spend $20 per conversion that we have. This is something that you'll have to figure out and start to understand, like, what should my target CPA be? You can also just leave it blank, get some of the data, and then start to understand what your target CPA is. That's usually what I recommend. We'll hit next, and we'll go on to our next setting, which is how much money do you want to spend per day. So you can see Google is recommending certain budgets for us. This is going to be the amount that you spend per day. So it says, 62. It's saying that our average cost for a conversion is going to be $88. Our weekly cost is going to be $440, and it's telling us that we're going to get 5 conversions. This is actually what I love about Google. Google's pretty transparent in terms of, how many conversions you're actually going to get, and you can add in your specific zip code, and you can see exactly how much it's going to cost you to get 5 leads or 10 leads or 15 leads. And if that's something that you're interested in looking at, definitely reach out to us, book a demo call with us, and we can run you through and we can show you exactly based on your zip code and where your clinic is located. We can tell you how much it's going to cost for you to get 10 new leads in the door. And this is all part of our done for you Google Ads service. So if a lot of this stuff is super confusing for you and you're like, I have no interest of actually setting these things up, definitely go to our website, book a demo call with us, and we can walk you through, what the cost is going to be for you to get 10 new leads in the door each month. We do all of this setup for you. We set up all the proper conversion tracking. So definitely head on over to our website and book that if this is something that you're interested in, because if you can understand exactly how much money it's going to cost you to get 10 new leads in the door, and of those 10 leads, 4 of those leads are going to turn into new patients, it becomes really easy to scale this stuff up. Because if a patient's worth $2,000 for you, and to get 10 leads in the door, it costs you about $1,000 a month. And with that $1,000 of ad spend, you get 4 new patients, and 4 patients is worth $2,000 each, which is going to be $8,000. You just spend $1,000 to get an invoice $8,000. I'll take that trade-off all day long, right? So this is like we're having an understanding of all this stuff really starts to come into play. So we'll just do our recommended $21 a day. We'll set that. I'm obviously not going to run these, so you guys can figure out how much you want to spend on these ads. But again, this is where I suggest like bringing somebody else in and really giving you an actual idea of, okay, like this is how much a conversion is going to cost for you. Let's do the math and work backwards from there and figure out, where you want to spend your money. Because the way Google works is it goes through a learning period, and it usually takes about $3,000 for Google to go through its learning period to figure out what you're actually trying to show up for, and what searches that it should actually show your ad for. So the more that you can optimize and the faster you can optimize, then the more your money is going to be actually towards searches that actually matter. And within the first 30 days, you're going to show up. Google's going to show your ad for as many searches as possible. And what you need to do is you need to go in and you need to optimize your Google Ads account every single day to make sure that you're only showing up for searches that actually matter. So we usually suggest starting with a smaller budget to begin with during that learning period, so you're not just burning a ton of money, and then you can start to scale up over time. So again, we'll just set this to our recommended budget. We'll hit next here and we will move on. All right, so we've got our bid strategy. We've got we've got everything set up here. You can see now we have an error here as well. So our final URL is erroring out. So let's just add in a path for this, and we'll go to contact us. All right, we'll hit next. see if we can get this error to go away. Okay, cool. So we're good here. We can set our budget. We're good here. And it's not going to let me finish this ad because I didn't fully fill things out. Let's go to actual Ripple's website here and let's grab the legit URL. So it's just contact. Okay, cool. So we're good. So again, this is where you're going to have to go in. You're going to have to really make sure that everything is filled out correctly. You're going to want to make sure that you don't have any error signs anywhere. We can hit next. And okay, so now we're airing out on our search themes. So we'll have to go back to our search themes. All right, so this is where the healthcare side of things really starts to come into play. So you can see our search themes for physical therapy, it's saying policy violated. And if you've ever run ads in the past, you've probably got these errors on your ads accounts because we're trying to show up for a healthcare term. And you can see right here, Google tells us fix or request an exemption. So try changing or removing these search themes. If you're sure that your search themes comply with our policies, request a review and we'll take a look. So in order for us to advertise for physical therapy, we actually have to submit these to Google and say like, hey, we're an actual physical therapy clinic. We're trying to advertise for physical therapy. I understand that this falls within this like health and personalized advertising. So you'll have to go in and you'll have to request an exemption here. So you're going to have to do this for every single one of these. And let's just get rid of these for now, just so we can go live with this account. So we're just going to run for sports physical therapy, but what you're going to want to do is request those exemptions so that you can actually go live. And the cool part is now you can start to see what our ads actually look like. So we've got Ripple Physical Therapy, Speak with a Doctor Today, Boston MAPT. We can see our descriptions, we can see our snippets, we can see our call outs. The ad is looking pretty beefy, pretty good. So that's in a pretty good spot here. So we'll continue to hit next. And then what you'll do once you fix all of these, errors, you'll be able to go live and you'll be able to set your actual ad live here. So it's not going to let me go live because I don't have the logo on here, but hopefully you guys can see, what the ad looks like, what things you need to be actually filling out. And then once you go live, you enter your payment details and then your ad is live from there. And this is where the actual work starts to come into play. So once your ad goes live, you're not just done from there, right? You need to set up all those conversions. So right now, when we set up that ad account, we're only tracking for those form fill outs. And we didn't tell Google like what specific forms we want to track. And that's good information for you to have as well. Because if somebody's just filling out a newsletter form on your website, that's not worth as much for you than filling out an actual contact form on your website. We're going to want to make sure we're tracking discovery calls booked a little bit differently as well, so we can start to understand those things. You're going to want to start tracking the funnel, and if somebody clicks on the ad, do they then go to a contact page or an about us page? Can you start to track some of those micro conversions? You're going to want to be in your ads account every day and understanding what are people searching for and what do we want to show up for, and what searches are actually providing us with conversions, and what searches just don't resonate with the service that you're trying to provide, and you want to get rid of those searches. So Google Ads, the setup, as you can see, was pretty easy to set up, but the optimization piece is where things start to get a little bit trickier. And this is why we offer a done for you Google Ads service. So if you don't have any interest in setting this up, if you want to understand how much you're going to pay per lead and get a really good idea on what Google Ads can do for you in your area, then reach out to us, inquire about our done for you Google Ads services. We're seeing really great return on these for the clinics that we're working with. So head on over to our website, batchsystem.com. You can book a call there. It's a free call. We'll dive into what Google Ads would look like for you in your area, and we'll help you grow and scale your clinic. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. This is how you set up a Google Ads account, some of the things that you should be turning on, should not be turning on, and we'll do a little bit more of this in the future as well, where we can drill into some of the specifics on Google Ads. But for now, definitely book that call. Reach out to me on Instagram if you guys have any questions, and I will talk with you soon.